his takes, and we have given him freedom. Even in consulting also, he will get about 60 to 70% of his consulting fee to himself. So this way we have not increased his salary the way what he was getting abroad, but it is almost at 60% or 70% of his salary. Plus we have said these are the incentives. If you see in India, these things are growing up. So I am sure if the professor is very confident that he can earn from 30 to 40% outside the salary package, I think we are able to, then this kind of model can attract professors, good professors from abroad.
I think it's quite an innovative proposition you have made out. You mentioned about like fee fixation is one of the impediments you feel like which stop the coming of quality faculty members to your institution. What other impediments as an edupreneur you are facing day in and day out in terms of taking your institution to the higher laurels you have thought about?
I think huge regulation on academia. I would say that like we have a lot of norms which are very archaic. Like we define that this kind of degree has to have these kind of courses. So the course is also very what I would say fixed. While abroad, a student is allowed to join a college and then choose the stream after 2 years or so. I think that's a right model because I don't think after class 12th any student knows why he should do engineering or commerce or something. He has not yet made up his mind fully because he has not got the full exposure. So I would say that let the student get in the first 2 years of his graduation exposure to various subjects, and then after 2 years let him choose that. And this kind of flexibility is not there currently with the UGC. They have very fixed formula and you can't change this formula so easily. And especially for affiliated college, you have no choice because you are run with the government university and their curriculums are fixed, and they are not looking at this kind of model where you give flexibility to students to choose the course after 2 years. I would say that. So in my mind, that is one piece of regulation which is hurting us. Second is a fee fixation, and the third is infrastructure. Let the infrastructure be observed by the individual. Let the market forces take care of it. If you see the IT sector, if it would have been regulated by government too much, then I'm not saying that you have to have zero regulation. You set up some governance and standards that how the institution will be governed. Okay, there should not be a shortcuts. So currently all regulations are majorly, if you see AICT norms, they are majorly focused on numbers, whether it is number of classrooms, it is number of professors, and it is also on the number of auditoriums and all that stuff. In my mind, what is important is this is a hardware. I call it this as a hardware. What we require to look at is a software, which means what kind of professors I am getting. Is it PhD or all professors are BTech students, and do we have so many PhD or professors of high quality that when we regulate that these many PhD or professors as an engineering college you should have? So I think these are some of the things which regulators have to look in and give flexibility to the institutions and look at the ethos and then focus on accreditation. You do good quality accreditation of the colleges. That means there should be supreme body which from the industry and from the academia field, both mix up. They should accredit institutions, and on that accreditation basis there should be a competition rather than which institution has better infrastructure or which institution has more number of professors. That has no meaning if the quality is not there. I would say that. So there needs to be done a lot of things to be done on the governance, which means that even our governance right from BOG, which is Board of Governors, who are there, I think there we need to put in more focus rather than putting on day-to-day operations kind of a thing. So day-to-day operations should be left to the institution and let the best institution win over the period of time. Like IITs have gained their name over the period of time because their output is better, and similarly BITS Pilani or some other good institution, let them get their name, fame to the name.
So, but coming back to the regulator shoes, like they have such a vast territory to govern and administer, and JRE institutions being a corporate promoted group might have that upward kick in terms of the governance and the vision as it's concerned, but in the tier 2 or tier 3 districts of the country, when we have where we have engineers, so there might be some regulatory challenges with the regulator. So how do you like to suggest the regulator that how can they differentiate between a performing institution like yours and a normal institution, maybe in a way back district, Naxal affected district of Chhattisgarh, where they need some basic minimum regulations, which is the only way by which they can pull things across. So what suggestions you would like to give the regulator?
I would say that I think we have to get out of this engineering mode colleges. I think government is doing some good steps. I saw that they are looking at community college. I think that concept is a great concept in remote places and even in the tier 3 places, because we need to develop skills as per the area. We have to keep our youth where they are rather than migrating all the youth in the top 10 cities of the country. If you see, there is a huge migration happening, which will keep on happening. There is no harm in that, but to some extent we have to have local development also. So for local development, if the agriculture is profound, then the institution should be based on agriculture and innovation in agriculture related to that particular terrain. If there is a Jodhpur has a good leather kind of a business, we need to have good institution on leather oriented rather than having an engineering college there which has no meaning at that point of time, right? So I think this community college is a right solution in my mind, so that you develop vocational skills and then you can convert these vocational skills into degrees over the period of time, because your certificates have value on the credits. So you will get some credits off when you want to do a degree program.
So basically somewhere you are suggesting that the engineering education be integrated to the local economic needs, and let the whatever colleges are there in the country, let there not be a single regulator, let there be a localized I can say market understanding of things, and that specialization can come on that area. That's fantastic. In fact, sir, being a corporate promoted institution, what are the natural advantages which you got, which probably the other institutions struggle for a lot of time to come up to that level?
I think one is because we were supported by corporate, it helped us to not think short term. We always thought of long term, and we focused on the quality of students which we are taking is also of good quality. When I say good quality, it doesn't mean only the marks. I think most of the institution judge the student only on the basis of marks. What we do is we do very in-depth interview with the students, and we do take students with even 60% marks, and we find that if their interest is there in engineering, then only we take. So one is the quality of students we could focus on, and we could regulate our intake. So we have no pressure that we have to fill our college right from the day one. We said we will fill with the quality students. So that was one. Second, we could also look at the professors. We took and spend more money on the professors, which normally an institution which is run by entrepreneur, his job is to somehow break even the institution faster. So what mistakes most of us makes is, one, fill up the college fast, so you have good revenues, and second is have very average faculty, because no good faculty will join you day one. And because we were having good academic partnership with our promoters, so we could see that some of the professor could see that this is being promoted by this kind of institution, education institution. So they joined us upfront. So they said that this institution means something. So I think that also helps. You attracting professors also, it helps. And second is long-term vision. So what we framed that we want to be world-class institution, which over the period of time we should have ranking in international arena in the top 500 in next 15 years time, and in India among the top 5 institution in next 10 years. So if you have that kind of vision, you start working on it.
Just having a prospective plan for 15 years says it all, sir. Moving from the professional side of entrepreneurship, like we would like to be very curiously to know about your journey from being an a student at KV, at FRI Dehradun, to your Punjab Agricultural University where you studied agricultural engineering, and then to IIM Ahmedabad. So how has been your academic journey? Some of the lessons or some of the pitfalls you saw helped you to shape up some of the experiments you are doing today.
As a student, I was, I think, till class 10th, I would say that I was a very average student. And somewhere in the class 11th, I figured it out. Being average is not good enough. You should be among the top three, and that's where I think my transformation happened to myself, and. I figured out that education is very important in life, and we were all from middle class family. So the only way, the route to success is and good life is education. So fortunately, I got selected in agriculture engineering college, and then in agriculture engineering college, I found that. We could, especially PAU, encourage lot of research work and lot of self-learning. And we had professors coming from US. So that time it was funded by US, I think, USAID, right? And so for that, we got to exposed to the very good professors who had done PhDs from top universities in US. Like some were Michigan University, some were coming from University of Chicago. So we that helped us. They told us to look at the research orientation. So we had a lot of projects which we were working on, and I was very fortunate that my project got the best prize of the year, because in the final year you have to do a project. And I did computer simulation of tractor driving. I still remember that time computers were like unknown name, and I have to learn the whole programming myself. So I found that this was a great, the professors, you will not believe that my computer professor who has come from US, I thought that he will let me learn the programming. He said, this is the computer, you learn yourself. I was totally shaken. Till date, all this was learning by lecture orientation and all. And this really opened up for me, and you will not believe, I took 2 months to learn the basic language myself, okay, and then progressed on my project. That told me that I can learn anything. Now that's a kind of self-confidence you develop at the institution.
So I think that's the germs of your research-oriented training and learning by doing. I think it comes from your tenure at Punjab
PAU.
Agricultural University. So it's exciting.